The NX200 from Antec is one of the nicest and budget-friendly computer cases that you can get right now. We're gonna look at all the details today and we'll see what kind of features the Antec are offering for the price. Hey guys, welcome back to the Hardware Size channel. My name is Ivan and today we're looking at one of my favorite budget-friendly computer cases, the NX200M by Antec. And why am I saying budget-friendly? Right away, I'm gonna tell you this one normally goes for $69 and I don't advise anybody buying it for $69. For that, we have the CH370 from Deepcool, and that case is so much better for $10 less. But very often this NX200M is on sale on Amazon for around $45. And I think for $45, you're gonna have a hard time finding a better case that can fit M-ATX motherboards or ITX motherboards and offer tons of features that I personally consider to be incredible, especially considering the price tag. Throughout the video, I'm gonna keep saying that this is a budget-friendly case. Again, only if you're getting it on sale for around $45, which I paid for from Amazon. And if you keep an eye out there on Amazon for this kind of size case or this specific model, you're gonna see that this one drops to $45 pretty often. And I only advise you to buy it for that. So with the price out of the door, I'm going to consider this case as a $45 case because it's very often to be acquired at that price. And I'm going to tell you right away, for $45, they're offering a ton of features. One of my favorite things I'm going to emphasize on, and not a lot of reviewers are mentioning, and I've seen cases and I have cases that are over $200. They don't even go to the extent of changing that. A lot of you know that the front pedals, mash or not mash or solid, they almost always, 99% of the cases that I see, have a cutout on the bottom where you can put your hand and pull the front panel off. But that presents a big issue for me. That gap always gets filled with dust. So no matter how fine or how nice the mesh on the front of your case is, the dust is gonna go through that hole straight into the fans, and it's kind of defeating the purpose of having a mesh. To remediate this issue, Antec has made a completely solid panel in the bottom with only tiny kind of 5mm nudge made of plastic that you can put your nails and yank the front panel off, hence covering all possibilities for that air to go underneath. And I'm sorry, but all of the makers out there, please take a hint from Antec and do something similar, because I am tired of patching these holes with masking tape or electrical tape so no dust gets inside there. It might be a little thing, but trust me, if you're using the computer often, and especially if it's sitting down on the ground, that hole is gonna get filled with dust, and all these fans that you're installing in the front are gonna suck all that dust inside, and they're gonna get cluttered pretty easily. Again, for that price, this is one of the smallest cases that you can buy on the market. It's really tiny. The maximum length of GPU supported by this case, it's 275mm. And of course, this is if you mount the front fans on the outside. Personally, I mount them on the inside, and I was debating between what I should do. And here I'm kind of leading to one of the issues I have with the case. They should have left the front metal completely open. Instead, they created this hexagonal kind of large openings, but still they are offering a lot of resistance on the fans, and that creates extra noise and is not as convenient for the air to pass through. So it doesn't matter where you're mounting the fans, on the outside or on the inside, you're still getting plenty of resistance and the noise is amplified. Now, what I'm thinking in the future, I'm probably gonna take the Dremel to these and cut them off completely to kind of remove them. That way, the air is going to be unobstructed and going straight into the components. Now, what it comes with the case, you have only one fan in the rear, nothing else, no intake fans. Luckily for me, I have plenty that I have left over from other cases, so I slapped two very simple and very similar to the one that Antec are providing, 120mm fans. They're Deepcool, and they're exactly the same one as this one. They're super silent. They're running around 1200, 1300 RPMs. But keep in mind, when you put them against that metal, they're going to create a little bit more noise, but not as loud as I've seen in many other ones. So overall, this package that I built is extremely silent. Now, what kind of liquid cooling or AIO solutions you have here? You are able to install a 120 radiator in the back if you would like, or 240 in the front. Personally, I would keep it only air-based with no AIOs here, because the package and the footprint of this case is so small and so tiny. Even if you install 240 in the front, the tubes are way too long for this specific case, and they're going to be awkwardly looking around and trying to find a place way you can route them. They're gonna probably will be resting on top of your GPU, so it's not gonna look as aesthetically pleasing as possible. On the roof of the case, we have options for two 120mm fans as well. Personally, I'm not gonna install any fans. I'm gonna let the hot air passively escape the top. There are no filters additional on the top, which I appreciate. They're not necessary. I need those two fans to push as much air inside. Passively, some is gonna escape on the top, and the 120 in the back is gonna take that hot air out as well. Now, what I have inside is super simple build. This is Gigabyte X370 motherboard. Very simple with Ryzen 5 1600 installed, 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, 3200 megahertz, and RTX 3050. But this case, like I said, can support 3050, 3060, even some 3070. So it depends on what you want to build. For me, being an extremely budget-friendly desktop, 3050 seems fine. Of course, if you find it a good price. I'm not advising you to pay anything close to what the retailers are asking for this one. I was lucky enough to grab this one a while back from EVGA for $250. And at the time, that was a good price because GPUs were not able to be found anywhere. Now, for a case that costs so little, even the thumb screws on the back panel are much higher quality than anything else. Maybe the top level and more expensive Lian-Li cases have similar ones. These are very fine machined, heavy steel thumb screws. They're not your typical tiny ones that you see in every single case out there. So this is another little detail that I haven't seen in many cases. The glass side window, keep in mind, it's not the thickest. It's not your typical, more expensive 4mm glass. This is more like 2.5, 3mm. It's pretty light, so be careful not to break it. But it's held by magnets. We have a little handle on the outside, and it's held in hinges in the backside, so you can take it completely off or hinge it and then put it back in with the magnets. It fits perfectly. It covers the whole side of the case, and they even did a cutout for the power supply on the power supply shroud, so you can see the name of your power supply. Personally, I don't really care about that, but a lot of people care, and some people actually mount some screens here, monitors for extra information when they hook it up to their computer to kind of display some of the stats of the computer. So that's a good option for a lot of people that care about that, and a lot of people like that kind of stuff. And on top of that, the case is wide enough that even GPUs that are higher than normal size, they will be able to sit comfortably inside without the cables touching the glass. And these braided cables I use for the RTX 3050 are not the softest, and they are still not touching the glass. I have about an inch between the glass and the cables. I have 750 watts Enermax marble bronze semi-modular power supply installed on the bottom. Plenty of power. I think it's an overkill for the hardware I have here, but keep in mind, if I throw in a better graphics card right here, this is still a pretty nice gaming computer in a very small footprint. And this is kind of reminds me of the size of some of those pre-builds you've seen on my channel, the HP TJ01 or the Dell's G5. They're exactly the same size, but this one is offering so much more, and it's engineered so much better. On the back side, the cable management is a breeze. We have tons of space in the back. We have ample amount of tying points that you can tie the cables, make them nice and tidy and well organized. And they created ribbon cables for all the USBs, the audio, the power, and the reset button on top. That makes cable management even better because they're not individual cables being thrown around. You can just run two big cables and off you go. So probably one of the easiest cable managements I have seen on the budget case. No rubber grommets on the openings, but that's fine. I don't have issues with that. And the power supply shroud is perforated. So in my particular situation, the motherboard PCI Express slot is one below. Those perforations will help of the GPU, the two-slot GPU, get a little bit more air and not be completely blocked with a solid sheet of metal that I've seen in a lot of cases, including some of the Lian-Li cases that are costing a lot more. As a final product, comes with a very compelling package, a small footprint, two 120 intake fans, one 120 exhaust. I have a cooler master cooling solution on the CPU. Plenty for what the CPU is offering. There's no overheating whatsoever, and the 3050 is good enough for 1080p gaming, even for some esports gaming with no problem. The feet on the bottom are not that tall. We're talking about maybe 10 to 13 millimeters. So ideally I would love to see a little bit more space, but considering the footprint, overall footprint of the case itself, it kind of makes sense, and it's more symmetrical to have these little feet. Just keep in mind, if you put it on the ground and you have a carpet, the opening for power supply is going to be completely blocked. And of course the power supply filter is that very simple mesh that you can just squeeze and remove and clean. But I have to say, at the end, for the asking price of $45, this is an outstanding case. And those of you that have it or maybe considering to get it, I have to tell you, go ahead and grab this one. It's going to be a breeze to build inside. You can make a budget-friendly, a very compact computer that you can throw on your desk or put it underneath if you want to. And if you want to spice up the things a little bit, you can install a couple of RGB fans on the front, one in the back, maybe some RGB strips, and you can still make it look much more premium than it is. This specific one is completely muted for me, no lights, nothing, everything is dark, kind of old school. So for the price, if you want to really keep it on the budget, I think this one is offering plenty. So what can I say at the end, guys? I absolutely love this case. I think for $45, there's no alternative out there. I think Antec has done an incredible job engineering stuff that needs to be engineered and needs to be addressed. And they have saved money in areas where money can be saved and not really worry about it. For example, the front panel is mesh, but it's completely plastic. It's not metal or doesn't have any filters, which I prefer actually. But being plastic, obviously it's not as premium as metal mesh. It's not as fine. So you're gonna have to clean those fans pretty regularly. But at the same time, they're covering the hole at the bottom, so there's not gonna be extra dust coming in through there. It's wide enough. At the same time, it's very, very small and houses perfectly something like that. Some budget-friendly build with no frills GPU. That you can just throw in there and just play simple some 1080p games with no problem. So yeah, that's it, guys. Hit the thumbs up if you liked the video. Stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe if you're new. Check out the link in the description below if you want to support the channel directly. It helps me tremendously to bring you videos like this regularly. And as always, guys, you have a wonderful day.